Okay, today we're going to do price and quantity controls. This is rent floors, rent ceilings, and quotas. We're doing modules 8 and 9 in your book. So first of all, we look at the demand and the supply curves, price, quantity, and the equilibrium is at $3 and we follow down to 10. If we have a price ceiling, that means you can't charge more than a certain amount, in this case $2. Then the quantity sold is going to go down to 6. But the quantity desired is now going to go up to 14. So we have an inefficiency between 14 and 6, so 8 units. You have 8 people who want to buy this product, and the person selling it is losing $1 on each of the, in this case, 6 units they're selling. So I'll give you another example. An apartment. Apartment is renting for $600, and the equilibrium price at that point is 50. The number of apartments, sorry, is 50,000 apartments. If we do put in a price control, rent control, which is great if you're right out of college. When I was in college or in grad school in Boston, there was a lot of rent control in Cambridge. A lot of my friends were in it, and they loved it, and they were there for years, even beyond grad school, because the price was so good. But if you think about it, in that case, the person who owns the apartment is losing $100 for every apartment. That's bad in the long run because that means less money to pay the mortgage, less money to put in for repairs, and so the standard of the apartment often can go down. Also, we said in the last slide that it's inefficient in the market because at the equilibrium price, 50,000 apartments are demanded, but with that price, the $500, we're going to have 70,000 apartments. So we're going to be shy $20,000, and of the ones we're going to rent, they're going to be making $100 less for the apartment owner. Okay, and so I've just talked about this. The only thing I haven't mentioned is black markets come up. This is where people may be paying cash. The renter's paying cash because the owners do not want to have it in a bank account or something like that, and then those owners also are probably not going to pay taxes on their earnings, and so it keeps on going like that. We also have a price floor, which would be the lowest you could sell something for. Minimum wage, for example, is a good example of a price floor. You can't make less than the minimum wage, and that's good for the person making the money in some respects, and it's bad for the person paying, but then that's making it a little too simple. So obviously the people get the jobs, it's good. The people who don't, let's see what happens. The equilibrium, let's say there were 10 jobs at the equilibrium price of $3, so it goes up. So then we only have 2 people getting a job. So it's great for those 2 people because they're making $2 more, let's say, an hour. But it's bad because the 8 other people here lose their job. And so again, price good and bad. So one price control would be your food in the cafeteria. If you buy it, it could be produced for less, and obviously more people would want to buy it. So what happens is you often get surpluses, as with the price ceiling, it's inefficient, and as with the price ceiling, price floors also are going to often lead to legal activity, maybe even some kid coming around and selling some food to you. Or outside vendors coming in and undermining the school system. Okay, so we have one other thing. We're going to talk about crabs, and we're going to talk about price quotas. You can see the equilibrium price. It's $5 per pound for, and at $5 per pound, the quantity demanded is 10 crabs. And so we're going to establish a quota. And so when we establish this quota, what happens is that the amount of money the producer of the crab makes would be $6. So they would go up $1 from the equilibrium price. And that would be good, and it'd be good for them actually, because they would get what's called this quota rent, and that would be $2 over what people would be willing to pay, which is would be $4. So at $4 you would, and the quota you expect to have a demand of 8. We also have this wedge here, which is the amount of inefficiency that is going to develop in the system. So again, we have the difference 6 and 4, and we have the quota rent. Again, you're going to sell 8. People with that, for that quantity, willing to pay $4, but they're going to pay 6 when you have a quota. And so the people selling it are going to make an additional $2, but this is the inefficiency, because if you're at the equilibrium of 10 pounds, you could produce 2 more, or in this case 2 million more pounds. Okay, and so I mentioned this, the dead weight loss to the entire system. And then so if the government established a quota of 1,000 in this market right here, like this, what would the demand price be? The demand price would be $4. And then the next, like, what would the quota rent be? The quota rent would be the difference between 8 and 4, so the quota rent would be $4, and this would be the dead weight loss right here. That's it. Hope this was helpful.